excellent drink that you made. It was so much better than that mocktail.
Oh my gosh. Thank you.
I think in the world of mocktails versus cocktails, I think we know what the better is.
Yeah, it's definitely cocktails.
Yeah.
And that doesn't mean that we're against mocktails. It just means that really didn't really care for the taste of it. And honestly, if you don't want to drink alcohol, you don't have to. You don't have to order a mocktail just to seem like you're fitting in. Just order a regular juice or anything and have a good time. Why spend $15 on fake alcohol? Seems like a waste of money to me.
Hot take, but I think that mocktails are just like bars marketing towards this like new fad to drink less alcohol, which is a good thing. Drinking less alcohol, more healthy. I agree, but I just think it's a vat of sugar. Like that's the only way they can make it taste good.
Is a whole bunch of sugar.
A sugary drink. Like I've never been in that, so like I'm just like, this seems like again another like way for corporations and restaurants to just like jump on a bandwagon and be like, oh look, we have mocktails.
Yes.
They're also $20, even though the ingredients, I just don't think they're as expensive.
They're
Like
not
you
worth
can
it.
prove me wrong.
$5. A mocktail
But-
should be $5.
The one that we made, like I'm like, that was
And somebody's selling that in their
$0.02.
restaurant for like $20.
That's the thing. If you're using premium ingredients, like okay,
But,
maybe. Like it's got to be like God's water. Like
Yes,
like,
but then I'm thinking the only reason why alcohol drinks or cocktails were so expensive in the first place was because of the alcohol.
that's what and I always look to see what alcohol they're putting in. You know,
That's
like
it.
what
They
is
ask you
it?
top
Rail
shelf.
liquor? Yeah.
They always say top shelf, or do you want just the cheap stuff?
Exactly.
So if you're asking me about top shelf, that means that it's a quality
It's gonna
drink.
be quality. So I guess the real debate is Gen Z versus millennials. Who's got what right?
Mm-hmm.
Where we're at,
Mm-hmm.
and what
How can we
learn?
improve and learn from each other? I think that's a good balance for us. See how we can learn from one another and put some things into perspective.
But before we get started, if you are new to joining us, we're Everly and Krishy, Real Talk on the Rocks. No rocks today. I don't know because we forgot.
But thanks for joining us.
Thanks for joining us. And we do a podcast on just talking real shit.
Just
honestly.
talking about real shit, just life in general, things that affect us as brown women.
Who've been in tech and know
what it's
honestly what the real world is like. So today we're giving our real talk on the topic of millennials and Gen Z. So you mentioned this really interesting idea about how millennials and Gen Z, what their relationship is in terms of work.
Gen Z is beating us at our own game, literally. So they're using the tools that we built and making money from it. Imagine. So all the years that we poured into building out these amazing tools, these amazing AI and tech tools, they're using the same tools and those platforms and making millions off of it.
Like, it makes me mad, but also I have so much respect.
Yes.
You know? Because, like, as a software engineer, I'm like, okay, it literally took so much work to, like, make these products, to make Facebook. Not that I worked at Facebook, but, like, you know, whatever. Facebook, Amazon, like, all these things that we use all the time, you know, Google and YouTube and stuff like that. Knowing how in the weeds you get, it actually tunnel visions you, and you don't realize that you can actually go use those products because it requires a totally different skill set to build it rather than to use it.
Oh my gosh, yes. Because you have to learn how to do the analytics. You have to learn what content stands out. You have to, these Gen Zers are literally marketing geniuses.
Analysts.
Right? You remember in our generation, we were building MySpace pages, so we were ahead of our time. We were coding
HTML, CSS.
at like 13. Literally. And what would have happened had we really stuck with those, you know, with those skills? But we got sucked into corporate America. We went to college. We started working the 9 to 5. We started grinding. Gen Z came around and they're like, we saw you guys working to death and we're not doing that. We want the easy life. We want a simpler life.
Which in some ways is good.
It is.
In some ways is
It's
bad.
not.
Because I was watching this video and it was like a, hi, I'm back to YouTube, or like something like that, by this girl who I think is more Gen Z, Vanessa Lau, for those of you who know her. And it was raw, it was honest, it was vulnerable, and she was sharing her journey as somebody who had done content creation and scaled her business up to like, millions of dollars by herself. And felt like she was faking it, and that was giving so much anxiety to her, to be in a room with people who had actually done these big things and not feeling herself like she deserved to be there. And I'm like, at some point I think it does catch up with you.
It does.
To be all talk and no game, to be presenting a bunch of ideas about how to game corporate life, or like how to like do life hacks when you don't have the experience.
To be speaking on such, right? It's weird. It's almost like this pretending. It's like, I'm going to fake it till I make it. So we're just going to literally fake everything, and hopefully we grab somebody, on the back end. I think that's what that's what they're doing. They're like, well, I'm going to pretend that I know what I'm doing and just see what happens. And they're literally just doing that. They're just walking on the ledge and just going out there and pushing the limits. And I feel like millennials, we were like, okay, we're good right here. We're not going to push the limits. We're going to make sure that we're doing everything right. And Gen Z does everything outside of the box. They're like, we don't care. We're doing our own thing. We're making up our own rules. Take it or leave it. And the thing about it is, the employers, they have to take it or leave it. They're standing in their truth.
With millennials, it was like, we wanted beanbags and fun. They gave us beanbags and fun. Now we like want work from home. Like Gen Z, I don't think they want to go into an office, because I don't think they want to do all that socializing. I'm like, get me into an office, please. But some days I feel like, maybe I was meant to be born like 8 years later, like, and be like a Gen Z or something. Because I love that they're going to the beat of their own drum and stuff like that. Like, I love when I read statistics, which we're gonna put below, saying that like they're faster to home ownership than millennials, but even then, like getting faster there than boomers.
That's a big deal.
Right? Because boomers, the quintessential American dream. They worked hard, they got the house, they had the family, right? So Gen Z is like racing to the finish line and getting it.
Way before most people at their age. Like, they're homeowners in their 20s, like early 20s.
That's not a small thing.
That's a huge, huge deal.
And they're feeling financially confident, right?
Yes.
Like, they're not feeling
burdens,
the same woes, right? Which, when you look at millennials, they're feeling not optimistic about their financial health and their future, which is sad, because a lot of millennials are getting to that age where it's like marriage and kids and house, and a lot of those things cost a lot of money. So I think that's really fascinating. Like, it's just like financially they're doing so well, but then you look at the numbers for mental health and anxiety, and it's like that's through the roof.
Yes. So you see the shift happening.
And you're like, what's the cost?
Yes. What is the cost? So you have it all. You have the money. You have the things. Because I also think Gen Z, they're very much more into materialistic things than we are. Like, they have to have all the brand names. They're doing it all. But they're not building those relationships.
They have to have the brand names, but something that I read is that it has to be like, it has to match their identity. They've got to like care about the mission more
behind it,
right? Like, I think they're less likely to like invest in fast fashion these days. Like, like they're more like environmentally conscious, like eco-friendly and stuff like that, which is really, really interesting, because I think that millennials want to be, but then it's too expensive.
And we've also lived in a world where that wasn't something that was easily attainable. Sustainability, that's literally a word that they've just been using lately. Like all of a sudden, the world has been falling apart for a long time, and now they're like, okay, let's be sustainable. Mm.
And Gen Z is like not having the millennials like excuses. They're like, no, like we're not taking excuses. Like we're gonna do more. I think that's something that I think is really, really cool that I think they're using the information that's available in our hands. A lot of us have smartphones. You know, we all have the same access, to be honest.
We
like
do.
With Wi-Fi and stuff
We
like
have the
that.
same access. We have the same amount of time in a day. We have all the same tools, but they are just better at using it. And I noticed too that they're changing the roadmap. They're changing that American Dream roadmap. What does that look like? It used to be, you know, graduate from high school, go to college, meet your person, get married, buy a house, have children. Now you both have all this money, you're traveling, you're living the dream. And we've come to notice that that's not the American dream anymore. The American dream is costing a lot of folks an arm and a leg. Most people can't even make ends meet right now.
You were telling me about that video clip that you watched, right?
Yes. It was a CNN video clip, and it was two millennials talking about their experience financially and what they would do different. And the consensus was just that what we're going to do different, or what we should have did differently, was seek other options other than college. Because for us, that was what was pushed. Go to college, go to college, go to college. And you notice that college is not the end all be all. There's so many different ways to make a living outside of college. And if we had those options, or knew even what those options were, we would have been able to make better decisions for our future. Because if someone had told me that I could have probably did a computer science boot camp or two boot camps and got a data science certification, and boom, I'll be making six figures without having such a massive college debt. You know, we would be on a different path.
I actually saw that trend happening when it was really like at its height of taking off back in like 2016, something like that. I remember seeing all these boot camps popping up, and my brother didn't graduate from college. It just like it wasn't for him. He was just like, you know what, he's very smart, but it just didn't work. I was like, hey, just try one of these boot camps. Like, just see if an alternative path to learning can get you into the workforce. I mean, still millennial of me to like think to go in the workforce when you could just go
start your own business,
right? But you know, whatever. He goes in, does the boot camp for 3 months, and comes out with a six-figure salary. And you know what? It would be one thing to be like, oh, that just worked for him. Later on that year, I was having trouble at my job. And I was also running out of savings after I quit that job because it was super toxic. It was not for me. And it was destroying my mental health. So I was on savings, I was running out, and I was like, okay, let me try the boot camp. Like, if I can suggest it to my brother, then why can't I also do this?
Yeah.
Like, why can't I be an engineer?
Yes.
I also come out with a six-figure salary, 140K. All it needed was my laptop, Wi-Fi, and concentration, and I got it.
That is amazing.
Because they really help you get there with like mentorship and whatever. Things that college didn't give me. Like, I didn't have like a career coach in college. You know what I mean?
You know what I'm saying? There's just certain things that you get in the real world, that the experience that you get that you just don't get in college. And, you know, we'll probably make another video about it, but there's definitely pros to going to college. Now, we're not saying not to go to college. College changed my life, but
yeah,
it would be nice to have options. And I think that's how Gen Z is able to be so successful is because they have so many options. They have options for just about everything. And honestly, at our time, we only had two options. It's college or retail. It was literally college or retail. Now it's so many endless opportunities. Like,
I almost feel like college is so out of fashion.
It's like old,
school,
outdated now.
that people talk about it like a business because it is a business.
Yeah.
But you'll see it like, oh, this college shut down. And they talk about it kind of like the way they talk about companies going bankrupt.
Yes.
Right? It's not as if they're talking about it like they used to, where it's like, oh, this formal educational institution that, you know, mobilizes our youth to be successful in our future and make America great. Like, no, it's not that. It's like, okay, yeah, like
It's
this,
bankrupt. They
didn't-
failed. And then you see all these universities losing their accreditation, and it's affecting those students that graduated from the university. Now their degrees are worthless. How do you deal with that?
I didn't even think about that, to be honest. I didn't even realize that that was a thing.
Yes, they're literally losing their accreditation and having to fight the university now for like some money back refunds.
Oh, God.
Because I mean, you don't have a degree anymore.
What the heck? Oh, other than just college and finances, I feel like a big thing that I've noticed is Gen Z is more into like self-care.
Oh yes. Mhm.
But you know what I find interesting is that like the self-care is not really correlating with these like high anxiety numbers. Like if they're not going to college, which I found to be one of the most stressful periods of my life.
That is
personally,
true. It was
right?
very stressful.
Right? And they're doing okay financially. You know, like not all of them, but you know, they're more
A
confident
good majority, yeah.
about getting to financial independence or stability.
That is true.
Which is also stressful.
Mhm.
Then what is stressing them out? I'm not saying that there is nothing stressing them out, but I want to like explore that as like a
Could it be that we are hitting the lonely generation? So, I was actually reading this article, and it says that Gen Z is the lonely generation. And what that means is at a time when they were at their peak, they're, hanging out with friends, going out with people. So Gen Z at the time of the pandemic were mostly teenagers. So this is the stage when they're going to high school and they're going into college. 4 years of no interaction with your peers can do so much damage to your mental. They had to learn how to communicate with their peers without the in-person interaction. So what does that mean? That looks like being on our phone 24/7. We're messaging back and forth. I'm seeing my friends through and living vicariously through them, through their Instagram page, through their Facebook page, through Threads, through Twitter, because that's the only interaction we have because we can't see each other in person. So my sister, she started off high school in the pandemic. She started 9th grade at home.
oh god,
Like
9th grade is like the training wheels.
literally. So no 9th grade. That also means that generation, their first year of college was not on campus. Their first year of college, freshman year, was at home on the computer is insane.
Dude, no wonder they're not that pumped about college, or no wonder they're going to online businesses. I mean, I feel like with the pandemic, there was so much opportunity to do that.
Yeah.
I just didn't know how to leverage. Sorry, Mike. I just didn't know how to leverage those opportunities, but that makes sense.
It does, doesn't it? They have so much options. And I think that's the difference between millennials and Gen Z is the options. They have the world at their fingertips. Literally, that's their phone. When we were their age, we had flip phones. So we did have Google. Obviously, we are older than Google, but we didn't have it in the same way.
Dude, think about that. We're older than
Google. They have their phones. They can Google anything and get the answer to it right now. You and I didn't have that. We had to go read a book to find the answer, or we had to wait till we got home to get on the dial-up, to get on the computer, to search. They can get the answer to anything right now. If a Gen Zer wants to make $10 right now, they can make $10 right now. At our age, we had to do a lot to make $10. You know what I'm saying?
Shovel somebody's driveway.
Shovel the driveway, cut the grass, help with the groceries.
you know, with Google and everything, they've got all this AI and everything. So I feel like, does it make them more susceptible to marketing? Like, the more that you're online, does it make you more susceptible to how different corporations want you to view something? Like, for example, like all of the health kicks, right? Like, Gen Z is also more likely to want to eat healthy, to drink less alcohol, right? To maybe go for like a mocktail or like, you know, like a lower calorie drink. Man, we did not give that much of a shot. I love it. But I'm also wondering how much these companies are just putting these buzzwords in. Same with self-care. My opinion is that I think self-care has become a marketing term.
Yes.
For companies to sell higher end products.
And all kinds of expensive bullshit.
Right, and they just have like one of those pictures where you look like super relaxed and they're like, self-care. Like, buy yourself this jacket or treat yourself to this face mask that costs, I don't know,
$500.
$50. Yeah, $500.
No, or,
oh my God.
or the $500 face creams that's all over Facebook. Oh my gosh. That is another thing Gen Z is doing. Gen Z is buying out all the retinol.
Oh, anti-aging.
The anti-aging products. What the hell are teenagers doing with anti-aging products?
Okay, side topic. Can we appreciate how much like Hollywood is embracing wrinkles as the A-listers get older? Like,
they're like stopping
Anne
wearing
Hathaway,
makeup.
Yeah.
Yes, Alicia Keys.
I just watched a movie and you can tell like clearly they didn't put much effort into trying to make the actors look young, and it was so amazing.
It was so nice to see because it's like we age. This whole idea of being obsessed with being young, it does something to your mental.
Maybe actually that's where the anxiety is coming from. I think we're getting there.
Oh,
you know, I think we're getting there.
We're getting there
because if you're looking at people,
these perfect bodies, you know, even though they're BBLs, people can't tell the difference. So they think everybody's body is perfectly shaped that way. So now everybody is got a gym membership. Oh, that's another thing too. Everybody has a gym membership.
Oh,
everybody's building up their bodies. Everybody's getting surgery. These are good things.
The first two things were good things.
These are
the
good
third
things
one is not recommended.
in a sense, but it's like your obsession with this perfect body or this perfect life.
You?
That's where it is. So they're competing with the screen.
The screen.
Why you're competing with the screen? The screen. Put the phone down. Put the phone down. Unplug. Get away from it. Get back to real life.
Ooh, so when we're talking Gen Zs versus Millennials, right? Is that your advice? Is that your advice for the anxiety that Gen Z?
Yes.
Because we've established, right? Gen Z is feeling anxious more than ever. Mm-hmm. And Millennials are just feeling poor. I mean, not like they aren't feeling anxious.
That's basically,
but like,
and the poorness is making us feel anxious.
Like,
our anxiety doesn't come from lack of communication or engagement with others. Millennials are really good at going out there. We are used to going to work 5 days a week, so we know how to go.
We know how to get out. Yeah.
We know how to get out, meet people. That's not our struggle. Our struggle is our finances. And Gen Z, they got the money, but they don't even know how to communicate with each other. They're stuck on the phone, like glued.
Can I be honest? With the pandemic, I became more stuck on the phone. I realized
the endless
only
scrolling.
When I moved to New York how little I could interact with people. Like, even though, yes, I'm a millennial, and yes, I have those skills, like 2.5 years of being told to stay inside, to reduce your, like who you interact with, and also 4 years of remote work.
Imagine what that does.
Right? And I'd already had experience working in an office, so I kind of knew that this was not the normal. You. Mm-hmm. Well, also wasn't the norm.
It's not the norm.
Right?
And for Gen Z, this is their norm.
That's what I realized. I realized I don't even know how to have like a organic conversation with somebody I don't really know until I moved to New York. And in New York, you have to. I mean, everybody's...
just out.
Everybody's out of their apartments and
walking.
Even something small like talking to your doorman or like ordering a bagel. Like these all require like I wouldn't say sophisticated social skills, but it feels sophisticated right now.
Yes.
And so I don't blame Gen Z for being on the phone because I feel like that's kind of all we had for a little bit.
And that's what they were raised on. They literally were raised on the phone. All their friends are online.
It doesn't
because
help when moms take
the
TikTok videos of you. They blow up. And as a kid, you learn how to perform.
Yeah, it's oh my God, it's true.
You learn how to perform.
Aww.
And it's not the kid's fault.
Oh, using your kids as content.
It's big these days. Oh, somebody's calling you. We're almost done. But yeah.
But why?
Like
I noticed that too. The using their kids as content and
it's
as
controversial.
and like media punching bags, because like they're making fun of the kids or doing something silly to the kids and embarrassing the kid. And there's this one couple in particular. I don't know their names, but they have kids, and one of them is a little plumper, and they make fun of her. They like fat shame her, and that she's the brunt of their jokes.
That's actually horrible.
And I'm like, you people are despicable.
Okay, that's horrible.
Yeah.
Talking about phones.
It's my text alert. Oh my God, it's my text alert.
But as a millennial, I feel like I can definitely understand what happened to Gen Zs. I feel like the pandemic absolutely was pivotal in forming millennials' financial woes in some ways, right? And Gen Z's anxiety. I'm going to explain the millennials' financial woes really quickly because I feel like dropping the interest rate to zero because of all the pandemic craziness and then the housing supply being as short as it is, like the house is a thing that a lot of millennials are trying to get. And that, like, I feel like that is really difficult. At the same time, Gen Z was at the point where their, frontal cortex, whatever this thing is called, sorry, I'm not a psych major, that was like really like maturing, and they were learning how to socialize in ways that would be important for the rest of their life. That was totally shortcut.
Yeah.
So I feel like we can learn from each other. If I think the problem, honestly, is just accepting each other's
changes.
Struggles as actual struggles and being empathetic and looking at like what you have in your hand, which we talked about last episode. So if you didn't watch it, go watch it. But looking at the cards that you have in your hand, if you're a millennial and you are burdened with debt, like I personally don't know how it is, but I know my sister is struggling from it. Like looking at that and being like, okay, this is my situation. It is financially difficult. What do I have in my hand? Maybe I have a remote job that lets me live anywhere. Maybe there aren't a lot of fun places to live, but are there other ways that I can make myself feel fulfilled? Okay, I feel like I really want a community, right? That's something that gets really hard in adulthood. Well, looking at Gen Zs, they're making a community online, and they're using YouTube to make friends with each other. They're using Discord channels, like maybe
having friendships all over the world.
Leveraging some of Gen Z's skills and maybe learning from some of them by even watching their content, right? By talking to them. I think it's harder to find people outside of your generation to talk to. I know I don't talk to a ton of Gen Zs. But learning from them, like how to build a community online, how to define yourself outside of work and your immediate relationships. I think that's something as a millennial, like that's what I would take away. It's just like Gen Z is so strong at thinking outside of the box because they have had technology since they were born. Like, they've been exposed to a lot
iPad
more,
babies.
Right? That's not just a bad thing. There's a lot of benefits.
It's a lot of benefits. It's pros and cons.
And
you just have to weigh them. Yes.
As a solution. Right?
And use it as
a millennial. We could learn from Gen Z. Like
it's a lot. It's actually a lot that we can learn because I think for us, right, millennials.
Yeah.
Gen Z, they're very innovative. And
I think they are.
And truly they get that from us. they actually get that from us.
Sorry, guys.
But we're so we're so burdened down with everything else.
Well, we're
that
in the weeds.
We're so in the weeds.
You know, like when you're missing the forest for the trees, whatever that like phrase is. It's like you're so busy. Like,
you're so busy building that we don't
you
get
can't look up and be like, oh my God, look at what I built.
And they see, look at all that has been built. Let's make it better. But see, we're not doing that. We're building, and just building. And they're like looking at it from the outside looking in, and they're like, this is great. How can I make this better? And then they just do it. And I think that another thing is they're good at taking risks. They're good at taking risks, and they're good at failing and bouncing back. We are very timid when it comes to failure. We feel like if we fail, it's the end. It's the end. We failed. Oh my gosh. But Gen Z, they just, that didn't work, onto the next thing. That didn't work, onto the next thing. And they will just keep going. And that's something that we have to really commend them on and give them a round of applause.
And use as a perspective for how to approach our own things.
Yeah.
You know, like maybe take a step back. And honestly, just appreciate what it is that is out there in the world that you can use and try to think like a Gen Z.
Yeah, I would say for Gen Zers, if you're watching this video, that you're doing good. You're doing well. I would just say put down the phone. Sometimes there needs to be connections outside of online spaces. And
self-care is more than Netflix and
chilling
spa day at home.
and wine. It's more so about going out, being amongst people, being amongst your friends. So, you know, even if you have a remote job, there might be opportunities to do a happy hour with a few coworkers that live in the same city as you. Or there might be an opportunity to do some volunteer work in your city. So finding things that you feel comfortable doing where you don't mind, you know, just going out there and meeting people that you wouldn't regularly find online or in your day-to-day life. You want to be able to step out of your comfort zone and do something different.
And while I think it's amazing that Gen Z's home ownership is up, I also kind of realize that when you buy a home, you link yourself to one area and you've settled down. I would almost say, like, try not to settle down too early if you're on the younger side of your 20s. It's not about, you know, racing to a goalpost and trying to accomplish something. Honestly, there's a lot of lessons to be learned and a lot of life to be lived in your 20s, which a lot of Gen Z, you know, kids are. And honestly, like, just try to do the hard thing and maybe go to, you know, a meetup or try to meet people in person. I sit at a bar. That's, you know, something that I actually used to do a lot. Like, just go to a bar and just try to see, like, who's going to be there. And as millennials, we had to do that a lot, and it was really difficult. But it led to a lot of really funny stories, at the very least. And I think I became more resilient to failure or rejection in person. Like, I really, like, mentioning that Gen Z is better with failure. And now I'm kind of thinking about it, like, I think they're better with failure online. Like, if they know about, like, the trolls on the internet and stuff like that. And they know, like, oh, okay, if this YouTube video didn't work, delete, repost, or, like, change the thumbnail, or, like, maybe, like, TikTok's algorithm change, stuff like that. I don't know what they do.
Yeah. But outside of that.
But it needs to translate to outside. And maybe, honestly, just doing some things in person that you may not normally do. Maybe it is forming an in-person study group rather than just doing online.
Exactly.
Or taking, like, an acting class that forces you to be in person, right? It's very different than just, like, challenging your brain or something with, like, facts. It's challenging your creativity with learning how to communicate with other people. I think that's something, like, just thinking completely outside of the box. And finding entertainment in places that aren't just YouTube, Instagram, Netflix,
and video games,
FanDuel, whatever. Like,
you gotta really take it offline. Take it offline. If you have your online groups, suggest a meetup. those of you all that are in the same city, let's link up. Let's go for brunch. Try to get yourself out of that. I just want to be at home funk, because I get it. We spent 4 years in the house,
Yeah.
and we basically learned how to live from home. You know,
But you can't really have a life just inside your house.
You can't, even though that's what we were doing for 4 years. So although that's what we're used to, we have to get ourselves back into the swing of going back out. And if you have a job and you're considering leaving your job because they're asking you to come into the office, don't quit your job.
Try out
the office.
Good point.
Try out the office. I noticed that Gen Z is quitting all their jobs because they're not remote. Don't quit your job. Go into the office the 1 day a week, the 2 day a week, and be around people. Surround yourself around people. That is the one thing I do agree on, is that there is something special about when you and your coworkers or teammates come together in person.
Learning how to work as a team, honestly, something you can only learn in the real world, I think. In school, they don't really teach it. But I think that's actually a really good point. Like, don't just jump on that bandwagon and be a part of that trend, which is like leaving your job. Yeah. Leave your job if it's toxic. Leave your job if it sucks. Leave your job if it doesn't make you happy or feel fulfilled and it's eating away at you. I've left 2 jobs now because of that. Like, I more than get it.
Yeah, like, you're not treating me good.
Don't leave your job because it's challenging you in a way that you may be uncomfortable with. I think that's
That's it.
A good point, honestly, you made.
100%, because they're like, and that feeds into the social awkwardness. So you have a job, they're asking you to come into the office, and rather than go into the office and socialize with your coworkers, you quit the job because you're scared of the socializing aspect of getting and being around people. You're just digging yourself further into a hole that you don't want to be in.
Agreed.
So challenge yourself. Challenge yourself to do something different.
Same with millennials. It's not just Gen Z. Both generations, I think, need to cross-pollinate. And you know what? I think that there's a lot that even I learned from this discussion. So I think
so true.
This was great. I'm actually kind of stoked to try to put myself in the shoes of a Gen Z and like think outside of the box about how to use. That's kind of
how we got here.
Thank you,
actually
Gen Z.
Thank you, Gen Z, because we learned so much about content creation.
That's true.
You know, being innovative, learning about our voices.
We may not be as healthy as you, but you know.
We're trying. We're trying. We
didn't have as much information on our tips.
We're taking pages. We're taking pages and notes out of the Gen Z book.
But yeah, I think join us for our next episode, and if you liked our content, subscribe.
Like and subscribe to our channel, please.
And comment below on, Gen Z versus millennials. Like, what's going on? Are you Gen Z? Are you millennial? Are you a boomer just watching us as we
talk about things? Okay. We need to get into the boomers next time, too, because they are a different...
I want to know it's like if this is a movie, the boomers roll.
They're just looking at us like,
oh, baby, you're anxious? Ooh. Tough day.
Tough day. They're like, we were working to the bone our whole life. Okay. You guys want to live easy? You want the easy life? You guys are lazy. Wow, we became lazy overnight.
Millennials made social media. We made the internet.
Ooh.
But really, if you're a boomer, also comment if we're interested.
Please. And if you have any topics that you think that you want us to talk about, drop them below as well.
All right.
Cheers. Till next time.
Till next time. I'm just loving the rose.
It's so good.
With the amaretto.
Right? This became so good.
It's also really good with the chocolate cake.
And the chocolate cake. This cake was really good.